We are live.
Yay! And we had a track record here lately is our live has definitely been live, so we're just going to go with it. I am old new dude. He is.
Richard York, Asher's Trueborn son.
I want to apologize for Wednesday. I had an appointment to schedule Carter in his new school in South Carolina. I did not realize until Wednesday morning what time that was. So, and it's a long drive. It's a 45-minute drive to his school from the house here. So I do apologize, but I appreciate y'all's patience. Soon, within a month ish, we should be in the trailer. We actually got to go in the trailer yesterday for the first time and actually saw the whole trailer. Everything looks good. Just waiting on septic tank and brick underpinning and power. That's it. That's all we're waiting on. But okay, that's enough about the trailer. Um, this is Theon 5, A Classic Kings. If you've watched, oh, also, Lizzie, welcome back. We missed your sense of humor. And as Chris posted, he has been doing your counting for you. So I'm assuming, well, you're driving today, though, so I'm assuming he'll continue to count today. But welcome back. We missed you. I think Sanji, you were first again. That's, I think, 2 times in a row. Johnny on the spot, Chris waving from the wall. And we appreciate everybody. But if you've watched any of these, sure, it counts as one. We start with the brains of the operation, which is Richard, and then he'll say what he saw in the chapter, and then I'll jump in with my stupid stuff. Before we get started, though, I do want to apologize to every single body. My enthusiasm for A Song of Ice and Fire has wavered here in the last month or so. I haven't been as full of it, thinking about it all the time as I have been. Other things have been going on. I don't know if I just got burnt out a little bit. I'm assuming that the spark will ignite here soon. The only time I want to think about it or talk about it is when I'm talking about it with Richard, and the occasions that I can actually go to book club and just physically talk about it. But the taking the time to read a chapter or look something up, it just seems like life has gotten in the way, and I haven't made it. I appreciate it, but I haven't made it the priority that it was in the past. So here's hoping the juices get flowing again and the flame gets lit. But like I said, I do want to apologize. I appreciate everybody. I haven't been on Discord like I normally have. I've boycotted Twitter altogether. I'm done with Twitter. But I will do my best to get the juices flowing again, and I appreciate everybody's patience. So, with that said, take it away, Richard.
Thank you, sir.
Hmm?
Cool. Thank you, sir. Clash 56, Theon 5. Asha comes to Winterfell. The sky was a. We got here. You need to start.
Hey, Charles.
Probably supposed to be lighting your night fires again. Yep. Yes, lighting. And Charles, yes. All right. Asha comes to Winterfell. The sky was a gloom of cloud, the woods dead and frozen. Roots grabbed at Theon's feet as he ran, and bare branches lashed his face, leaving thin stripes of blood across his cheeks. He crashed through, heedless, breathless, icicles flying to pieces before him. Mercy, he sobbed. From behind came a shuddering howl that curdled his blood. Mercy, mercy. When he glanced back over his shoulder, he saw them coming, great wolves the size of horses with the heads of small children. Oh, mercy, mercy. Blood dripped from their mouths, black as pitch, burning holes in the snow where it fell. Every stride brought them closer. Theon tried to run faster, but his legs would not obey. The trees all had faces, and they were laughing at him, laughing, and the howl came again. He could smell the hot breath of the beasts behind him, a stink of brimstone and corruption. They're dead, dead. I saw them killed, he tried to shout. I saw their heads dipped in tar. But when he opened his mouth, only a moan emerged, and then something touched him, and he whirled, shouting. Flailing for the dagger he kept by his bedside, and managing only to knock it to the floor. Wex danced away from him. Reek stood behind the mute, his face lit from below by the candle he carried. What? Theon cried. Mercy. What do you want? Why are you in my bedchamber? Why? My lord prince, said Reek. Your sister has come to Winterfell. You asked to be informed at once if she arrived. Past time, Theon muttered, pushing his fingers through his hair. He begun to fear that Asha meant to leave him to his fate. Mercy. He glanced outside the window, where the first vague light of dawn was just brushing the towers of Winterfell. Where is she? I think it's probably worth pointing out that it seems likely that he was actually seeing the stupid talk to text. It seems likely that he was actually seeing the faces of the Miller's kids, right?
Yeah.
Because he says, "I saw them burn" and so forth. So the implication is on reread, we realize that the implication is that those are the Miller's kids that he's seen.
Right. Quick question: the wolves the size of horses, is that an actual size of Summer and Shaggy Dog, or is that an exaggeration from the dream? Because I don't know if we get a true size of them.
I mean, dire wolves are, I would say, kind of in between the size of a wolf and a horse.
Okay.
But
well, I know Ghost is the biggest, Grey Wind is the fastest, so I'm assuming the other two have some characteristic that sets them separate from the other wolves, besides fur color and everything. I'm assuming Shaggy Dog is the most savage, and then I don't know about Grey Wind or Summer.
He's stronger than he knows, something like that, right? We got that line. Anyway,
there you
go. Lauren took her and her men to the great hall to break their fast. Will you see her now? Yes. Wex, hot water. He could not let Asha see him disheveled and soaked with sweat. Wolves with children's faces. He shivered. Closed the shutters. The bedchamber felt as cold as the dream forest had been. All his dreams had been cold of late, and each more hideous than the one before. Last night he had dreamed himself back in the mill again, on his knees dressing the dead. Their limbs were already stiffening, so they seemed to resist sullenly as he fumbled at them with half-frozen fingers, tugging at breeches and knotting laces, yanking fur-trimmed boots over hard, unbending feet, buckling a studded leather belt around a waist no bigger than the span of his hands. This was never what I wanted, he told them as he worked. They gave me no choice. The corpses made no answer, but only grew colder and heavier.
Hey, quick question. Do we think the reoccurring dreams are some type of intervention to get Theon's mental state or actions to a certain point to where things happen the way they need to happen?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And Pod says, and one Miller kid may be Theon's son? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that would be the younger one, right?
Right. Because yeah, I don't think he's old enough to or I mean, he certainly remembers that when he was with her, she had stretch marks, right? So the implication is that she'd probably given birth to when he was having sex before he was having sex with her.
You got a really good memory.
Oh, it's in this chapter, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
The Brickland stand-in. Yep. And of course that Preston has talked about this concept that what George tends to write about in both Wild Cards and Game of Thrones is genetics,
right?
And that pale blue eyes are almost always an X-linked gene. It's virtually impossible for Roose Bolton to pass on his pale blue eyes to Ramsay.
Yeah.
Ramsay. Yeah, Reek in this chapter. That's where I was kind of stumbling because I wanted to say Reek and I was like, no, wait. But anyway, and so the there's an interesting parallel where there's probably an unacknowledged bastard of highborn Theon,
right?
With the Miller's boy. And then there's an acknowledged bastard that's probably not really with Ramsay.
Right. There is let's see if I can find it. Jesse Bear Book Club that does a really good 1-to-1 between Game of Thrones and Wild Cards as far as character relationships, similar story types, that type of stuff. She's the one that pointed out the comparison with who was it? It might have been oh, I just drew a blank. Benjamin Stark and another character in Wild Cards that had a sexually abusive family member, and that might implicate that there might have been something with Brandon and Benjamin type situation.
Huh.
Yeah, she goes through it really good. I recommend her channel, especially for the Game of Thrones Wild Cards comparisons, because she has quite a few of them.
What's that name?
Jesse Bear Book Club, JESSIE Bear Book Club.
Interesting.
Yeah. I've been subscribed to her for a while, so she did a really good job on the comparisons. I mean, it hooked me really good on maybe some of the storylines being the same type situation. There's a similar story arcs between certain characters. There's a character in Wild Cards that is a really good comparison to Bran as far as the overall power that person has. But she did a really good job. So I mean, yeah, I give her mad props for what she does. She does a way better job than I do, that's for sure.
All right. Did I successfully unmute? I think so. Anyway.
Yeah, you're good.
All right. Yeah, I was, calling Sammy because he was making a lot of noise. Anyway, so people probably saw my lips move and nothing coming out.
Yeah.
Anyway, Pod points out that means he's a real kinslayer, not just that he's supposedly killed his foster brothers, but that he's a genuine kinslayer.
Preston or LML that points out that kinslayers in the story tend to have really bad things happen to them after the kinslaying. I think the only one that gets kind of a pass for a while is Jamie. Other kinslayers, they tend to like Theon eventually looking like an old man type situation.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember which one did it, but I mean, it was pretty good.
The night before, it had been the miller's wife. Theon had forgotten her name, but he remembered her body, soft, pillowy breasts, and stretch marks, as we mentioned, on her belly. The way she clawed his back when he fucked her. Last night, in his dream, he had been in bed with her once again, but this time she had teeth above and below, and she tore out his throat even as she was gnawing off his manhood. It was madness. What madness is this? Anyway, he'd seen her die too. That's two. Gomar had cut her down with one blow of his axe as she cried to Theon for mercy. Leave me, woman. It was him who killed you, not me, and he's dead as well. At least Gomar did not haunt Theon's sleep.
Hey, clawing or gnawing at his manhood, is that foreshadowing?
I suppose. Yeah, and there's actually quite a few references to this concept of there's a term for that, but anyway, I don't know. Girls Gone Canon talks about it. The teeth that the
to castrate with one's teeth.
No, having teeth with the nether lips, as it were, as I think George uses the term, right?
Anyway, yeah,
okay. Why would Gomar haunt Theon's sleep? Hold that thought, right? I mean, we're going to learn. Eventually, we're going to learn that he's he had Reek kill all these people, and then had a patsy lined up to blame it on. Anyway.
Okay.
The dream had receded by the time Wex returned with the water. Theon washed the sweat and sleep from his body and took his own good time dressing. Ash had let him wait long enough. Now it was her turn. He chose a satin tunic striped black and gold and a fine leather jerkin with silver studs, and only then remembered that his wretched sister put more stock in blades than beauty. Cursing, he tore off the clothes and dressed again in felted black wool and ringmail. Round his waist he buckled sword and dagger, remembering the night she had humiliated him at his own father's table. Her sweet suckling babe, yes. Well, I have a knife too, and know how to use it. Last of all, he donned his crown, a band of cold iron slim as a finger, set with heavy chunks of black diamond and nuggets of gold. It was misshapen and ugly, but there was no help for that. Micken lay buried in the lich yard, and the new smith was capable of little more than nails and horseshoes. Theon consoled himself with the reminder that it was only a prince's crown. He would have something much finer when he was crowned king. Outside his, I guess that could be foreshadowing. I mean, if we buy the Theon latecomer theory, right?
Yeah.
Outside his door, Reek waited with Urzin and Crom. Theon fell in with them. These days, he took guards with him everywhere he went, even to the privy. Winterfell wanted him dead. The very night they had returned from Acorn Water, Gelmar the Grim had tumbled down some steps and broken his back. The next day, Agar turned up with his throat slit ear to ear.
Mm-hmm.
Gyner Rednose became so wary that he shunned wine, took to sleeping in Bernie, Coif, and Helm, and adopted the noisiest dog in the kennels to give him warning should anyone try to steal up on his sleeping place. All the same, one morning the castle woke to the sound of the little dog barking wildly. They found the pup racing around the well and Rednose floating in it, drowned. So, from Theon 4, Gelmar, he said, wondering whom he could trust. None of them. Agar, Rednose, with us. The rest of you may return to Winterfell with the hounds. I'll have no further need of them. I know where Bran and Rickon are hiding now. So, he could not let the killings go unpunished.
Hey, does that mean that Reek did it, or was that?
Yeah, he'll specifically tell us that Reek did it here by the end. By the end of this chapter, he'll specifically have told us that Reek did it, and that he should have killed Reek, but that he knew that Reek could read and write, and he suspected that Reek had planted some sort of letter somewhere. Now, why that would matter, given that most of his men who would find it wouldn't know how to read anyway, It doesn't really make any sense. He should have killed him anyway. But anyway.
Right. Well, again, I think that's some intervention to not kill Ramsay at this time, because shit has to happen later.
Yeah, he's had a really bad idea implanted in his brain, essentially. Yep.
Yeah.
He could not let the killings go unpunished. Farland was as likely a suspect as any, so Theon sat in judgment, called him guilty, and condemned him to death. I would say Reek is a little more likely, but anyway, even that went sour. As he knelt to the block, the Kennelmaster said, "Well, Lord Eddard always did his own killings. Theon had to take the axe himself or look a weakling." His hands were sweating, so the shaft twisted in his grip as he swung, and the first blow landed between Farland's shoulders. It took 3 more cuts to hack through all that bone and muscle and sever the head from the body. And afterward, he was sick, learned all the times they'd sat over a cup of mead talking of hounds and hunting. I had no choice, he wanted to scream at the corpse. The Ironborn can't keep secrets. They had to die, and someone had to take the blame for it. He only wished he had killed him cleaner. Ned Stark had never needed more than a single blow to take a man's head. In fairness, Ned had iced, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, you got to stop and think. The first time we see Theon is Ned taking a man's head, and Theon is just sitting there nonchalant, got his foot on the head, kicks it. Yeah, he's a complete asshole and does not pay any attention really to what's going on, and has no reaction to the head being taken off. And now you get this time that he's queasy, he's sick. I mean, he's pathetic.
Yep. He's killing a man who was a close friend, obviously. Anyway. Yeah. The killing stopped after Farland's death, but even so, his men continued sullen and anxious. They fear no foe in open battle, Blacklorn told him. It was another thing to dwell among enemies, never knowing if the washerwoman means to kiss you or kill you, or whether the serving boy is filling your cup with ale or bale. We would do well to leave this place. "I'm the Prince of Winterfell," Theon shouted. "This is my seat. No man will drive me from it. No, nor woman either. Asha, it was her doing, my own sweet sister. May the others bugger her with a sword. She wanted him dead so she could steal his place as their father's heir. That was why she had let him languish here, ignoring the urgent commands he had sent her."
May the others bugger her. That's more of a northern saying than anything, referring to the others as far as.
Yeah, probably true.
Yeah, I don't remember anybody south that has said the others take you or anything like that.
No, they definitely say may the others take you. We've seen that.
Okay.
We have definitely
Never mind.
seen that. Yeah. He found her in the high seat of the Starks, ripping a capon apart with her fingers. The hall rang with the voices of her men, sharing stories with Theon's own as they drank together. They were so loud that his entrance went all but unnoticed. Where are the rest? He demanded of Reek. There were no more than 50 men at the trestle tables, most of them his. Winterfell's great hall could have seated 10 times the number. This is the whole of the company, Lord Prince. The whole? How many men did she bring? 20 by my count. The young Greyjoy strode to where his sister was sprawled. Ashley was laughing at something one of her men had said, but broke off at his approach. Why, 'tis the Prince of Winterfell! She tossed a bone to one of the dogs sniffing about the hall. Under that hawk's beak of a nose, her wide mouth twisted in a mocking grin. Or is it Prince of Fools? Envy ill becomes a maid. Asha sucked grease from her fingers. A lock of black hair fell across her eyes. Her men were shouting for bread and bacon. They made a deal of noise, as few as they were. Envy, Theon? What else would you call it? With 30 men, I captured Winterfell in a night. You needed 1,000 in a moon's turn to take Deepwood Motte. Ned and Jon both executed the man of the Night's Watch with a Valyrian steel sword in a single blow. Yep.
Yeah.
But again, they do have Valyrian steel. Well,
and they're both Starks.
Well, absolutely. Well, I'm no great warrior like you, brother. She quaffed half a horn of ale and wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. I saw the heads above your gates. Tell me true, which one gave you the fiercest fight, the cripple or the babe? Theon could feel the blood rushing to his face. He took no joy from those heads, no more than he had in displaying the headless bodies of the children before the castle. Old Nan stood with her soft, toothless mouth open and closing soundlessly, and Farland threw himself at Theon, snarling like one of his hounds. Erzin and Cadwell had to beat him senseless with the butts of their spears. How did I come to this? He remembered thinking as he stood over the fly-speckled bodies. That's foreshadowing of the paternal relationship.
Yep.
Only Maester Lewin had the stomach to come near. Stone-faced, the small gray man had begged leave to sew the boys' heads back onto their shoulders so they might be laid in the crypts below with the other Stark dead. No, Theon had told him, not the crypts. But why, my lord? Surely they cannot harm you now. It's where they belong.
Luckily, they did not go to the crypts because they're already there. If they had gone to the crypts, they would have been found out.
Yeah, but of course, the real reason that he doesn't leave all the bones of the Starks. I said no. Now, of course, this is actually Theon respecting the Starks and the crypts.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
He's not wanting to violate the sanctity of the religiousness nature of the crypts by putting the Miller's boys' bones as if they were the Starks. Right?
I didn't even think about that. That's a good point.
That's what's actually going on here. Is his respect for the crypts is why he's saying no.
Okay.
I said no. He needed the heads for the wall, but he had burned the headless bodies that very day in all their finery. Afterward, he had knelt amongst the bones and ashes to retrieve a slag of melted silver and cracked jet, all that remained of the wolf's head brooch that had once been Bran's. He had it still. So that implies that he's sort of still emotionally attached to the Stark direwolf.
Yeah.
And of course, we're arguing that he's emotionally attached to the crypts too, right? And so, do you think that's why he asked to put them there? We know he suspected it wasn't actually them. I don't know. Yeah, was he testing Theon? It's possible.
Well, I mean, I know in the show we see Maester Lewin go up to the hanging bodies and look at the legs, and then suspected. But I don't know in the books if he's at that point yet, because all he's got.
No, that's why that's kind of the point of this, is that he could stomach to come near, stone faced.
Okay.
Right. So the idea is that, I mean, later on he's gonna tell them I knew it. When he sees them, he's gonna tell them I knew it. So yeah. I mean, think about it. Bran has been seriously his bones have been seriously messed up, right?
Right.
And the older boy probably wasn't seriously messed up. So I think he immediately recognized that he lacked the injuries that Bran had.
Right. Well, I mean, he doesn't see the bodies, does he?
Right here he did.
He
begged leave to sew the boys' heads back onto their shoulders, and then Theon burns them because he doesn't want them going into the crypt, so he burns the bodies.
Right over my head. Sorry.
Yeah. Plus, I think he realizes that there is evidence, right? And so
Okay.
Anyway, he's burning the evidence. Anyway, but it is interesting that he's still attached to the direwolf.
Yeah.
I treated Bran and Rickon generously, he told his sister. They brought their fate on themselves. As do we all, little brother. His patience was at an end. How do you expect me to hold Winterfell if you bring me only 20 men? 10, Asha corrected. The others return with me. The others, interesting. You wouldn't want your own sweet sister to brave the dangers of the wood without an escort, would you? There are direwolves prowling in the dark. She uncoiled from the great stone seat and rose to her feet. Come, let us go somewhere we can speak more privily. She.
Oh, you froze
What?
it on me.
Really?
Okay, now you're back.
Can you
Now
hear
you're
me?
back. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. I was frozen, huh? All right.
Yep. She was
Where
right.
was I? She was right, he knew, though it galled him that she would make that decision. I should never have come to the hall, he realized belatedly. Should have summoned her to me. It was too late for that now, however. Theon had no choice but to lead Asha to Ned Stark's stole. There, before the ashes of the dead fire, he blurted, Dagmer's lost the fight at Torn Square. The old castellan broke his shield wall, yes, Asha said calmly. What did you expect? This Sir Roderick knows the land intimately, as the Clefjot is not, and many of the Northmen were mounted. The Ironborn lacked the discipline to stand a charge of armored horse. Dagmer lives. Be grateful for that much. He's leading the survivors back toward the stony shore. The plan was for him to lose, and yet somehow he's actually going to take and hold the castle for the rest of the published books. So, as of this, as of the date of us speaking, anyway.
Yeah.
She knows more than I do, Theon realized. That only made him angrier. The victory has given Leopold Tallheart the courage to come out from behind his walls and join Sir Roderick. And I've had reports that Lord Manderley has sent a dozen barges upriver packed with knights, war horses, and siege engines. The Umbers are gathering beyond the last river as well. I'll have an army at my gates before the moon turns. And you bring me only 10 men?
Hey, quick thing. I actually wonder how many knights and fighting men Lord Manderley really has. Not, I'm saying that what he gave the Starks, and then what he sends to Winterfell for Roose Bolton, I think he still has plenty in reserves.
Yeah. Plus, he has lots of trade and he has lots of refugees, and he's probably recruiting refugees to his armies, right?
Right.
So even if he sent everyone at each time, he still has a lot of people coming into that town.
My map in here does not give me the sections of the lands, but if I'm not mistaken, the Manderleys have one of the largest sections in the north, besides the Barrowland, I think.
I mean, we know that they're the wealthiest, and we know that they got the most heavily populated too, right?
Yeah, plenty of coin.
I need not have brought you any. I commanded you. Father commanded me to take Deepwood Motte, she snapped. He said nothing of me having to rescue my little brother. Bugger Deepwood, he said. Most popular city in the north. I believe when Davos was in White Harbor, he was told he could go to the barracks and have a place to sleep and something to eat. Am I right in that? Most populous city in the north. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think so. I don't really remember for certain. Bugger Deepwood, he said. It's a wooden piss pot on a hill. Winterfell's the heart of the land. But how am I to hold it without a garrison? You might have thought of that before you took it. Oh, it was cleverly done, I'll grant you. If only you'd had the good sense to raise the castle and carry the two little princelings back to Pike as hostages, you might have won the war in a stroke. You'd like that, wouldn't you, to see my prize reduced to ruins and ashes? Your prize will be the doom of you. Krakens rise from the sea, Theon, or did you forget that during your years among the wolves? Our strength is in our longships. My wooden piss pot sits close enough to the sea for supplies and fresh men to reach me whenever they are needful. But Winterfell is hundreds of leagues inland, ringed by woods, hills, and hostile holdfasts and castles. And every man in 1,000 leagues is your enemy now, make no mistake. You made certain of that when you mounted those heads on your gatehouse. Asha shook her head. How could you be such a bloody fool? Children! They defied me, he shouted in her face. The Mandrels are the high towers of the north.
Yeah.
Definitely recruiting. Yep. And it was blood for blood besides. 2 sons of Eddard Stark to pay for Roderick and Meryn. The words tumbled out heedlessly, but Theon knew at once that his father would approve. I've laid my brother's ghosts to rest. So that kind of sounds like divine inspiration.
Yeah. You can tell how worried Asha is about Theon here.
Yeah.
I mean, she's giving him sound advice. I mean, she seems really worried about her little brother.
Yep. Our brothers, Asher reminded him, with a half smile that suggested she took his talk of vengeance well salted. Did you bring their ghosts from Pike, brother? And here I thought they haunted only father. So this brother and sister discussed the possibility of using Starks as hostages and killing the hostage for their brother. And the correction here, the our brothers, is very similar to the we hold Sansa, right? That Theon corrects Cersei and says we hold Sansa, right? And they're discussing Stark children as hostages. They should have had 2. One of them's false. You know, there's a whole lot of similarities here between these 2 conversations.
Yeah.
When has a maid ever understood a man's need for revenge? Even if his father did not appreciate the gift of Winterfell, he must approve of Theon avenging his brothers. Asha snorted back a laugh. This Sir Roderick may well feel the same manly need. Did you think of that? You are blood of my blood, Theon, whatever else you may be. For the sake of the mother who bore us both, return to Deepwood Motte with me. Put Winterfell to the torch and fall back while you still can. No, Theon adjusted his crown. I took this castle, and I mean to hold it. His sister looked at him a long time. Then hold it you shall, she said. For the rest of your life, she sighed. I say it tastes like folly, but what would a shy maid know of such things? At the door, she gave him one last mocking smile. You ought to know that's the ugliest crown I've ever laid eyes on. Did you make it yourself? So, Asha is referred to as a shy maid, and Asha is actually the heir to the king who was posing as a commoner, right? And she calls herself the shy maid. Anyway, I kind of like that because it kind of reminds us of Aegon posing as a commoner, and I think I actually do talk about that in somewhere in Triple Targaryens. I don't remember exactly where, but probably episode 3, I imagine.
Yeah, either way, it still counts. I hate that they changed her name in the show.
Yeah, because Theon even comments, and we've been talking about the fact that this might be our 14th queen that we've discussed, but that Osha and Asha are both queens.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. I forgot about that.
Remember we talked about how there were like a baker's dozen of right. I was saying maybe we could call it the War of the 6 Queens next. And then we're like, it's at least half a dozen, maybe as many as a baker's dozen, maybe 14 actually, because we weren't counting Osha.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's odd that my top 5, I'll give you the 4 of them, of the ladies in this book is Arya, Asha, Osha, and Brienne. And they all have something in common. They're all
warrior woman.
Yeah. I mean, but Asha seems to have, without a doubt, the best sense of humor out of all 4 that I just said. She's definitely fun to read. But yeah, she's a really, really good character.
Yep. She left him fuming and lingered no longer than was needful to feed and water her horses. Half the men she brought returned with her as threatened, riding out the same hunter's gate that Bran and Rickon had used for their escape. Theon watched them go from atop the wall. As his sister vanished into the mists of the Wolfwood, he found himself wondering why he had not listened and gone with her. Well, that could be divine intervention.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Gone, has she? Reek was at his elbow. Theon had not heard him approach, nor smelled him either. He could not think of anyone he wanted to see less. It made him uneasy to see the man walking around breathing with what he knew. I should have had him killed after he did the others. See, he reflected.
Yeah.
But the notion made him nervous. Unlikely as it seemed, Reek could read and write, and he was possessed of enough base cunning to have hidden an account of what they'd done. So, like we said, this doesn't make any sense, right? Because first off, it's kind of a hint that he's not who he says he is, right?
Right.
Because unlikely as it seemed, Reek could read and write, right? But then, who's going to find it? Who can read and write that would find it? Like Theon would be the one who they would bring it to, and then he could destroy it. So anyway,
right. I still think that's a little bit of divine intervention to put that bug in his head that if I kill him, somebody's going to find a letter that's not been written.
I guess he could have done something where he kind of arranged for Lewin to find something, I suppose. But anyway. Well, Lord Prince, if you'll pardon me saying, it's not right for her to abandon you. And 10 men, that won't be near enough. I'm well aware of that, Theon said. So was Asha. Well, might be I could help you, said Reek. Give me a horse and bag of coin, and I could find you some good fellows. Theon narrowed his eyes. How many? 100 might be, 200, maybe more. He smiled, his pale eyes glinting. I was born up north here. I know many a man, and many a man knows Reek. 200 men were not an army, but you didn't need thousands to hold a castle as strong as Winterfell. So long as they could learn which end of a spear did the killing, they might make all the difference. Do as you say, and you'll not find me ungrateful. You can name your own reward. Well, my lord, I haven't had no woman since I was with Lord Ramsay, Reek said. I've had my eye on that Pala, and I hear she's already been had, so he'd gone too far with Reek to turn back now. 200 men and she's yours, but a man less and you can go back to fucking pigs. Reek was gone before the sun went down, carrying a bag of Stark silver and the last of Theon's hopes. Like as not, I'll never see the wretch again, he thought bitterly, but even so, the chance had to be taken. That night, he dreamed of the feast Ned Stark had thrown when King Robert came to Winterfell. The hall rang with music and laughter, though the cold winds were rising outside. At first, it was all wine and roast meat. Theon was making japes and eyeing the serving girls and having himself a fine time, until he noticed that the room was growing darker. The music did not seem so jolly then. He heard discords and strange silences, and notes that hung in the air bleeding. Suddenly the wine turned bitter in his mouth, and when he looked up from his cup, he saw that he was dining with the dead. King Robert sat with his guts spilling out on the table from the great gash in his belly, and Lord Eddard was headless beside him. Corpses lined the benches below, gray-brown flesh sloughing off their bones as they raised their cups to toast, worms crawling in and out of the holes that were their eyes. He knew them, every one. Jory Castle and Fat Tom, Porther and Kane and Hullen the Master of Horse, and all the others who had ridden south to King's Landing never to return. Micken and Shale sat together, one dripping blood and the other water. Benford Tallheart and his wild hairs filled most of the table. The miller's wife was there as well, and Farland, even the wildling Theon had killed in the Wolfswood the day he had saved Bran's life. But there were others with faces he had never known in life, faces he'd seen only in stone. The slim, sad girl who wore a crown of pale blue roses and a white gown spattered with gore could only be Lyanna. Her brother Brandon stood beside her, and their father, Lord Rickard, just behind. Along the walls, figures half seen moved through the shadows, pale shades with long, grim faces. The sight of them sent fear shivering through Theon, sharp as a knife. And then the tall doors opened with a crash, and a freezing gale blew down the hall, and Robb came walking out of the night. Grey One stalked beside, eyes burning, and man and wolf alike bled from half a 100 savage wounds. So this is one of our early clues that
the Red Wedding.
That's very blatant, right? Because we're told it's with the dead, right? And then we see the wounds. So
yeah. So
I mean,
again,
we've already had Danny's vision too, right? But still.
Well, I mean, that's another reason I'm saying that the dreams that Theon is receiving, especially sleeping in the Lord's chamber at Winterfell, which was Ned's and I don't know how far back that chamber goes as the Lord of Winterfell, the King of Winter's bed chambers. But I mean, somebody is definitely affecting his dreams, especially on this one here, without a doubt.
Oh, yeah. Theon woke with a scream, startling Weck so badly that the boy ran naked from the room. When his guards burst in with drawn swords, he ordered them to bring him the maester. By the time Lewin arrived, rumpled and sleepy, a cup of wine had steadied Theon's hands, and he was feeling ashamed of his panic. A dream, he muttered. That was all it was. It meant nothing. Nothing, Lewin agreed solemnly. He left the sleeping drop, but Theon poured it down the privy shaft the moment he was gone. Lewin was a man as well as a maester, and the man had no love for him. He wants me to sleep, yes, to sleep and never wake. He'd like that as much as Asha would. He sent for Kyra, kicked shut the door, climbed on top of her, and fucked the wench with a fury he'd never known was in him. By the time he finished, she was sobbing, her neck and breast covered with bruises and bite marks. Theon shoved her from the bed and threw her a blanket. Get out! Yet even then, he could not sleep. Come dawn, he dressed and went outside to walk along the outer walls. A brisk autumn wind was swirling through the battlements, reddened his cheeks and stung his eyes. He watched the forest go from gray to green below him as light filtered through the silent trees. On his left, he could see tower tops above the inner wall, their roofs gilded by the rising sun. The red leaves of the weirwood were a blaze of flame among the green. Ned Stark's tree, he thought, and Stark's wood, Stark's castle, Stark's sword, Stark's gods. This is their place, not mine. I'm a Greyjoy of Pike, born to paint a kraken on my shield and sail the great salt sea. I should have gone with Asha. So, well, it's definitely Stark's gods that are messing with him. But anyway,
yeah. He even at this point he can still leave. He's got the men to escort him to where Asha is. I mean, he's not.
Yeah.
He's not. He's not a captive in the castle. He can leave anytime he wants.
Right. On their iron spikes atop the gatehouse, the heads waited. Theon gazed at them silently while the wind tugged on his cloak with small ghostly hands. The miller's boys had been of an age with Bran and Rickon, alike in size and coloring, and once Reek had flayed the skin from their faces and dipped their heads in tar, it was easy to see familiar features in those misshapen lumps of rotting flesh. People were such fools. If we'd said they were ram's heads, they would have seen horns. All men are fools. This really is a similar chapter to the one with Theon or with Tyrion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's also another nod to what you said before, that even well-known people can go unnoticed, because I mean, people see what they want to see. Lordlings and knights and all that kind of stuff don't even bother looking lesser people in the face. So yeah,
like when as we've discussed, like in the first book, Cat is studying boldly, right, and sees no recognition in the eyes of Lord Mallister. Kenneth the Dots was never Theon's strong suit.
Without a doubt, was it?
So up next is Clash 57, Sansa 5, Cersei Prepares. It's arguably the first of the war, right? Because after that will be Davos, which is a long chapter, but the rest of the chapters are basically short.
Yeah.
So this next one's going to be a short Sansa chapter, and then the long Davos chapter, and then we'll be going back and forth with Sansa and Tyrion for a while, I think.
Yeah. Which, I mean, having so many Tyrion chapters, I appreciate, because I mean, I think I've said it before that is it Tyrion and Arya that have the most chapters in this book.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like the fact that Tyrion and Arya have so many chapters in this book, because they're fun reads, they're good reads.
Right.
I want to say in the next book it kind of evens out just a little bit more on the number of chapters per characters. I think.
Yeah.
My memory's crap, so
no, I think you're right.
Yeah, this is really. I mean, I like the dream sequences. I like the fact that somebody is messing with Theon, which you would think with all the bad dreams that he would have left with Asha just to put some distance from Winterfell and the direwolves and the heads. I mean, I would put it in my rearview mirrors and get the hell out.
Yep, as Lizzie said, he's not quite the he's a tragic figure anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he does have the Jaime Lannister's reactionary responses of what his first thought is generally what he goes with. Type, he's impulsive, very impulsive.
Yep.
And he doesn't understand the stuff that's going around him. He does not understand, because you got to stop and think. Asha, with 20 men, crossed the north all the way to Winterfell.
And it's going back to just 10.
And going back with just 10. I mean, basically, in her own way, begging him to please leave, because if not, you're going to die here. I mean, because she tells him, you can have it for the rest of your life. Meaning that
you're about to die.
You're going to die here.
You're about to die here.
Yeah.
Yep. You're choosing to die. She looks at him, studying for a long time. It's like,
I mean, she's ballsy as all get out, just going back with 10 through the north.
Yep.
But I mean, that again says, even though she messed with him when they first met and at Pike, she truly does care about Theon.
Well, at a minimum, she cares about her mother and what her mother thinks of Theon.
I think she's the only one in this story from this point on until maybe a little bit later that actually gives a crap about Theon. I don't think anybody else does. Nobody else.
That's not true.
Who's that?
Dagmar? How dare you?
Yeah. She's the only point of view character in the book that gives a crap about Theon.
Okay, that might be true. Well, I don't know. John? Bran?
I don't know about
that. Sansa, maybe? I mean, they used to. I mean, do they care about him now? No. No, they don't care about him now. But
yeah,
Bran maybe still does. Right? Bran is the one that's calling him.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's true. That's true.
Rob's not a point of view. As we said, Dagmar clearly cares about him, and Dagmar's not a point of view. But I consider him. I like Dagmar.
Yeah. He's a good secondary character.
Yep.
Would you consider him secondary or thirdary?
I don't know. He's people forget about him, so he can't be that.
That's why I was saying the thirdary, because I mean,
because people definitely forget about him.
Yeah, you don't get him very long in the book, but I mean, he is kind of forgettable. But when he's there, he's not forgettable. Yeah. All right. Oh well, hopefully next week goes great. Like I said on the trailer, we're waiting on power. We're waiting on
fair point, Pod. That's a fair point. Pod said he typed it before we said it, point of view.
Yeah. No. I mean, you're without a doubt always on point. So we appreciate it, Pod. Like I said on the trailer, I do not know how long it's going to be.
But you're probably gonna need a week off sometime.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all about, we got to contact internet and all that kind of stuff out there, because our phones do not work out there at all. We have no connection whatsoever. I know up the street from us for about 2 miles they have fiber optics laid. I don't know if they have it where we're at, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. But like I said, we got power to come. We got septic tank and drainage field to come.
So you should check all the different phone carriers coverage maps and see, because the technology that or specifically the bandwidth that T-Mobile has is such that they can usually get further out than the others.
I think it's what I got is T-Mobile.
Oh, okay. So if they don't have any coverage, then you're probably not going to. Certainly, you're not going to have high-speed 5G from the other ones, because they're short range. They're short range.
Yeah, Krista Crow is in charge of the technology in the house and technical stuff. So we have asked him to find out, because we're pretty sure we're going to have to switch our phones and everything.
If you get Wi-Fi, T-Mobile does voice over Wi-Fi. So if you get your phones on a Wi-Fi, you'll actually have coverage wherever you have Wi-Fi.
I think he said that too. I can't remember. I know.
Yeah. So
he might have said that yesterday, because we had to ride out. Yeah, I picked him up at 4:00 and we rode out 45 minutes to the land. Met the guy we bought the trailer from. got to actually walk in the trailer, walk the whole thing, because we'd never seen the whole trailer before. All we saw was the living room and the master bedroom, because it had that white plastic up. Oh, you did? Okay, I appreciate it, Chris. And so yesterday we got to actually walk in, look at the kitchen. I love the kitchen. That's my area. I love my cooking. I love my flat griddle. I mean, utility room. I cannot take the utility room because at night, my rot mix lady, my dog, she'll have a yard, and then at night I'm gonna bring her in and put her in a kennel to where I don't have to worry about her at night. And that's going to take up my man cave area right across from the washer and dryer. So I'm going to have to take a corner of the master bedroom and just put a one of the blankets, banners. I got so many things that I can choose to hang behind me to do videos with in there for the time being. We did buy a building yesterday, but I got a portable AC unit. I don't know if I'm going to make a corner of that, my man cave. I'm not sure yet. But like I said, I do not know once we move how long it's going to be before I'll be able to get back to doing a live stream. I tend to agree with Richard's thinking that it'll be about a week.
I mean, I got that from you, so.
Yeah. But I do apologize ahead of time for the gap in the live streams. I know that with book club not being able to get 3 books in one Friday night, because Chris was telling me the 3 chapters are doing tonight. I'm like, I don't think you're going to make it to that 3rd chapter. As long as we do 3 videos a week, we're slowly catching up to book club. About a chapter
we do
a
take
week.
Weeks off occasionally, right? So
yeah, I mean, but we're slowly catching up. On average, maybe a chapter a week. Plant a flag is all you're building. I did check yesterday. The guy we bought the building from does welding, and I asked him about making a metal crow sign that has cut out crows crossing on it, because we got the trailers it right in the front, and then the very center of that trailer, about 30 feet out, is a big giant pine tree that we're using as a circle drive, and then the crows crossing crow sign is going to be hung from that tree. So, but I know I'm rambling. Sorry, we're at 52 minutes.
That's all right. Hey, you were saying that you've kind of felt a little burned out and not had as much interest. I don't know. I find certainly as we go through these, I see things and interpret them differently than I ever have, as especially as we go through carefully and kind of look at things and
right.
And I just I don't know that I've ever really done a reread where I was really sold on the whole time traveling brand kind of thing, and looking through and thinking about it as kind of a quantum leap aspects and all this, right? Get an iron made for stakes with crossing logo. Oh.
That's a good idea. I do remember when we first started doing these videos, my hidden fingers, you weren't quite sold on it at the very beginning.
Especially the idea that there were 2 people, right?
Right. But as we went and as I slowly pointed things out, things that you point out now before I could even point them out, because I have you looking for them now, because at the beginning,
right.
Yeah, I can't read it without seeing it now, without a doubt.
Yep. It's really, I really do find this read through kind of different. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you looking for the hidden fingers and the divine interventions, you stole all my stuff I usually talk about from the very beginning. So now I'm just kind of, okay, yeah, no problem.
So, fair enough.
It's pretty much your live stream, and I'm just the comedy relief, because at this point, you're like an encyclopedia. You definitely have a way better knowledge and memory of the source material than I do. You're very passionate about it, which I appreciate. I feed off your passion for the books here lately to get me motivated for the live streams and everything. So I appreciate that without a doubt. Okay, Monday is going to be Sons of Five. Same bat time, same bat channel. As Friday,
we're getting into the Blackwater.
Yeah, getting close, getting close. That's getting really good. It is Friday, so everybody, please nimble Richard Crab. That was freaking hilarious, Bud. It is Friday. I do want everybody to be extremely careful this weekend. It is hot. There's a lot of thunderstorms. There's a lot of weather. There's a lot of smoke up north from Canada. I mean, just please be careful. All right. There's a lot of idiots out there. We appreciate everybody that joins us. It says 7 on mine, but one of them is me on my laptop. So there's 6 people here. We do appreciate everybody coming in, having something to say. Lizzie, we missed you. You're hilarious. Absolutely. Todd is without a doubt hilarious too. Lady Thistle, I know you're out there. We appreciate it. Sanji, let's see if we can go 3 for 3 on being first on here Monday. Valencar, I know you can catch us on the rewatch. James Martin catches us on the rewatch. We appreciate it.
Say anything to Charles?
What's that?
Did you say anything to Charles?
Oh yeah, Charles, man. I last but not least, without a doubt, the big pink mask.
I was just going through and
well, I mean, my memory is sometimes. I mean, if he hasn't said something in the last couple of minutes, it tends to. I forget. I'm sorry, Charles. We love you. But we'll see everybody Monday. Please have a safe weekend. Thank you again. Thank you, Richard. I appreciate it. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Bye.